with all the different things. You're very successful, but I've read as well that you suffer from narcolepsy. And so what I would like is first you might tell people what it is, how you got diagnosed, and how you're living with it.
So a narcolepsy is when you're sleepy all the time. For as much as right now that I'm honest, smiley, and bubbly, all this sort of thing, Roy, I have to focus intently on you right now, because if I
don't have electrodes on your testicles or anything to press a button just to kind of...
I do, but that's just for the fun of it. That's not to keep me awake. That's just sort of a bit of a hobby. But no, it's a sort of thing that if I don't pay close attention to talking to you in this moment, my mind begins to drift. I get very tired. There are various degrees of what narcolepsy is. Some people have the narcolepsy where they will pass out. Some have something called cataplexy, where if there's an strong emotional moment, they will actually lose muscle tone and slide down a wall. There are people that have like broken arms and legs from this sort of thing. For me, it's just being tired all the time. We're sleepy is a better word for being sleepy all the time. And it was funny. I ended up getting diagnosed. I always knew that, I guess, I felt sleepy or tired, whatever it was. But it's impossible for me to judge being sleepy because that's my perception. It's always like that. But I've heard somebody describe narcolepsy once as saying, stay up for 30 hours, now go to work. And now when you don't work, come home, make dinner, and then sit down and talk with your spouse. And so I suppose to some people, that's what it might feel like. We're always struggling against this sort of pressure of being sleepy. And so I didn't know I had narcolepsy. I knew that I was maybe a little bit lower energy than a lot of other people, or there were times where I would drift off and then I have to come back in like, oh, this person's talking with me, or, oh, I'm driving, which happened every now and then. But it was my ex-wife who went in and she was convinced that she had narcolepsy. She had something. And I swear to you, Roy, we sat down, she went, sat across from the doctor. I was there leaning in the doorway, and I was just sort of throwing in when she, they'd ask a question or I'd fill in the blanks anywhere they wanted to. And I swear to you, so he looks at her and says, I don't think you have narcolepsy, but I think he might. And I went, what? And so something about my mannerism or how I spoke or he felt that I might have it. And so the following week, I went into they have like a clinic, an overnight clinic. They put all the suckers and things on your face, and then they have you sleep at night, and they record you. And then every hour or so, they wake you up, and then they kind of give you a quick little quiz, and then have you go back to sleep, which ironically only makes the narcolepsy that much worse. I'm so much more tired now. Thank you for that. But and it's funny because that must have cost, I think that cost me about $250. And nowadays, you take a look, and there's entire YouTube channels dedicated to people that are sleeping. And so you have to pay to watch them sleep. So I was in there for about 8 hours. I think that clinic owes me about $175. Now I think about it. If I do that math, I don't know exactly. So I have had narcolepsy since I was probably, or at least knew I had narcolepsy since I was about 26, 27 or so. And initially, there was a lot of this like frustration. Oh, why do I have to have it? This sort of thing. But then you sort of come to terms with it. The one positive was, and anybody who has any particular condition, and mine's light compared to many other people in the world, I know that. And I'm not whinging. I'm not complaining about it. But once you sort of have a name for the demon, that really, really helps. It really makes a difference. That's the thing I can hate. But I wanted to turn that around because I was like, listen, I'm stuck with this. There's no cure. You're always going to have this. And so I started to realize that and I believe this with all my heart, I believe that narcolepsy is my superpower. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Do you know when you're lying down, Roy, at night, and you're just about to fall asleep, and you get some of those ideas in your head, you're like, that's great. You have some real creative thoughts. Real, it could be anything. It could be about an idea. It could be about some solution, some problem you had, or something you need to be doing. And you think, wow, that is amazing. Oh, gosh, I should write that down. But then you wake up the next morning and you can't remember, and you didn't write it down. Well, that state, while you're lying there in bed falling asleep, that little dreamlike state, I'm in that state between 80 and 85% of my day. That sort of dreamlike, hazy state. And I really feel that's where a lot of the creativity comes from. I really believe that it ends up being this font of inspiration. And so now I see it as a positive in my life, even though it's something that can be sometimes debilitating. Like we go to parties or something like that. I get about 45 minutes and I'm out, and so which frustrates the wife to no end. And so sometimes I'll go sit in the car, listen to a podcast and fall asleep. But no, I actually find it something as a positive in my life where it helps me create the stories that I create. And so it's good. Like I said, I see this as a superpower.